Hi there. I'm going to do a review for movie review for Predator 2. This movie came out in 1990. Stars Danny Glover. I don't think it wasn't quite as well received as Predator. It's kind of got a different setting too. The jungles are gone this time. This is in the urban environment of Los Angeles. And basically, the whole gist is that the predators are now suddenly not hunting things in jungles. They're hunting things in the city of Los Angeles, which is sort of an unusual setting for a movie like this. This doesn't have much tie-ins with Predator, other than the fact that they do briefly mention about the soldier who faced off against the Predator in the first movie. But nonetheless, this movie is more or less a totally different style of movie. It it's kind of got the same basic feeling. I think this is more meant to match some of the films that were coming out at the time because Predator was made at a somewhat different time period for movies than Predator 2 was. Nonetheless, this movie wasn't too bad. It's actually, I think it's underrated for most part. It actually works pretty good as a movie about predator hunting people in the cities. More or less, there's a lot of things going on here because the police at various points think that this is like gang violence, more or less. Predator's going around and he's basically taking out, of course, all the people with a lot of weapons. He's looking for that easy. He's looking for that hard fight, but it's not really getting very much because almost nobody even notices it being there half the time. So everybody it faces off against kind of doesn't really mean anything to it. It's kind of just there, and it's just there to be a predator. It doesn't really mean anything to be there. It's just kind of there. Um, yeah, so it's kind of an awkward movie, just like the other movies. Um, I think this one's actually better than most people think. It's got all the prerequisite requirements of a standard action film from that time period. More or less, yeah, the cops, various police officers start getting some sensation that there is something actually quite wrong going on. That this isn't gang violence. The predator's going around and knocking out various terrestrial forces, but it does create a problem for them because there's not really much they can go on. The predator's not leaving a lot of traces, other than the fact that he's massacring the local gang units that are going up against him. The biggest problem is, just like in the first movie, they don't really know that they got something bad coming after them until it's like too late. So there's not much to talk about. Unlike in the first movie where there was actually an initial fight sequence, there's not a lot going on in this. It does now open up with a pretty interesting shot where there's a huge firefight going on between some sort of uh, drug trafficking group and the cops. But I mean, I don't like the way the predator enters the scene in that early shot. Kind of doesn't really have the same sensations as the first movie because he kind of just comes in, he wipes out the group, and the police at first were like realizing that something had happened. At first, they were having this big firefight, and there was a lot of concern about this. And what was amusing is that Danny Glover, of course, loads up the gun and goes out and and it was ironic as for some reason all the gang members got worried. What happened was the gang members got attacked by the predator, and then they all retreat down to the street level. So of course, one after another come out right in the open, right where Danny can fire, and it's just so hilarious because at that point they have no clue why this happened. It just happened. That was all that happened. And eventually, when the cops go up to check out the area, they're absolutely shocked by what has happened. Is they can't believe that there's bodies hanging in midair. It's just and skinned alive. There's no. Yeah, they were wondering what the heck had happened because they couldn't believe that any of these drug members would actually be able to do that. But nonetheless, it's a different kind of movie than the first movie. They do make references. Yeah, I don't know. This movie is not the greatest movie because, again, it takes a while for anybody to realize there's something really, really wrong going on in Los Angeles. Nobody has any sensation because, again, this is drug drug cartels, drug traffickers going back and forth, and everybody thinks it's just that's happening. And it's not until quite a bit of ways in that Danny Glover the character starts to realize that they're dealing with somebody who isn't just a character. So it's not like it doesn't have a lot to go on. It takes them a long time. Then, of course, a secret operation, the military has known about this for quite some time, so they come driving into town and they want to get their glimpse. And of course, their operation is going just fine until they suddenly realize that the Predator has they were using some sort of stuff that would mask their body heat, because of course that's what the Predator uses to hunt everybody, is body heat. And then they find out that the Predator actually can see them because it switches its visual arrangement to a different light source. So basically, it suddenly can see them, which was not what it initially thought. Initially, we all thought it just had one light vision. It was using infrared for a while, and then it switches over to, I think, I'm not sure what it exactly switches to. I never checked that, but it switches to one that can kind of show them off what they are and what they're doing. But yeah, it's not too bad. There's only one scene I really don't like in this film. This is what kind of erupted the whole industry of comics and stuff, and the fact that Predator somehow exists in the same universe as Alien. Because of course they just had to show the skull of the alien in the last scene. Honestly, I don't think that. I think that was just a once-off gag. I don't think that was meant to be intertwined storylines. But yeah, the entertainment community, the people that like to deal with the Alien franchise and the Predator franchise, of course, ended up making two movies based on this concept that the Predators were hunting the aliens, which doesn't actually make any sense when you think about it. Why would there be an alien skull on this ship? But whatever, it just happened. It's one of the few things I truly don't like. More or less, there's a lot of things I do like. Do like the shootout. I think it's in the subway system where a whole bunch of gang members are there, and they were holding some people up for a second, and then the Predator just suddenly appears. It makes for an interesting sequence. But I mean, the Predator just doesn't have that much to do. There's not as much to conceal yourself around. There's no jungle around. You're basically trying to avoid a situation with open territory because you can't camouflage quite as easily in Los Angeles as you can in the jungles. I mean, the distances are just different, and it does contain one interesting shot where at the end of the one scene involving the subway, we find out that the Predators do show mercy to some prey, especially when they realize it's got a newborn. So the one police officer ends up not being outright eliminated. Instead, she is spared this hunting season. But although I don't know, the rest of it got one little almost, I guess you could call it a comedic sequence involving a child who happens to realize that something is there that he's not expecting, and he says, and he of course offers candy, which I think is actually not supposed to be something, is not being intended the way it's seemingly intended. It's a reference to other problems with people and kids. So I don't know. The movie does have another unique sequence where it shows the Predators having to try and repair wounds. So they have this whole chemical array, although it seems to be more of a reference to other things that have been happening in the movie, but we won't get into that. All in all, I don't think it's too bad of a film. It's decent enough. I mean, it's a Predator film. I think it's the only one of the few that really counts. I haven't seen the recent Predator movies, so yeah. I think it's these first two that really count. After that, I really didn't pay attention to any of the Predator movies. But yeah, there's a Predator movie. Okay.